Labadiena visiems susirinkus.
Good afternoon. Let us start the press conference attended by the Lithuanian Foreign Minister Linas Linkevičius and the Vice President of the European Commission, Maroš Šefčovič. The Minister, please.
Labadiena.
Good afternoon. As you all know, today we held in Vilnius a meeting of European Affairs Ministers of the EU. During the Informal General Affairs Council, we discussed several issues. The first one, how do we improve the cooperation between the Council and the Parliament as we work for solutions necessary for the EU citizens? And the next issue that we discussed was the coming elections to the EP. 3 European Parliament members attended the discussions. Chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, Elmar Brok, Chairman of the Constitutional Affairs Committee, Carlos Cassini, and member of this committee, Roberto Galtieri. We're extremely grateful to the EP members for their participation, for sharing with us their insights. During the first session, we mainly mentioned citizens and Europe. These two words, and it comes as no surprise to all of you, probably. This year is the Citizens' Year in the EU. All the participants have said that now we need to work on the issues that are of concern to our citizens. This is our main concern. And the citizens are concerned with the economy, with economic issues. During the electoral campaign, we need to show how does the EU solve economic issues and arrive at solutions that influence the daily life of our citizens. We cannot always show that clearly to our citizens. The ministers said that we need to ensure transparent decision-making in the EU, and we need to always hear the voice of the citizens as we discuss and make those decisions. This would also help to make the citizens more interested in the elections that will be held next year, the EP elections. The ministers encourage citizens to be more active in the elections. This is a great opportunity for them to express their opinions, to understand the process, and also to influence the formation of an institution that is important to all of us. Another issue, the cooperation between the EP and the Council. Well, at the beginning of our presidency, we successfully negotiated the cohesion package, payments to farmers and programs to researchers and students. And we have already seen that we can make the best solutions when the EP and the Council is working together. Both legislative institutions must cooperate, otherwise we won't have an effective and smooth process. Today, ministers discussed ways to continue effective cooperation so that we're able to make decisions that are useful and necessary to all citizens. We hope to continue with the discussions. We will continue with the discussions. We didn't adopt any formal decisions today. These were just ideas that we shared. Those ideas will be also presented in the capitals now, and in the autumn we'll return to this topic and maybe issue some recommendations.
This is the Commission, which input in today's discussion was, as always, very significant. I'd like to invite Vice President of the Commission, Maroš Šefčovič, to share his remarks. Please, Maroš.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Linas. And I would start really by thanking Presidency not only for inviting us again to the beautiful city of Vilnius, but also for arranging exceptionally beautiful weather this time. I know that it's something special, and we very much appreciate also the informality of the meeting, but also well-chosen topics which we discussed informally yesterday over the dinner, but especially in these 2 working sessions this morning. And I think that all the topics which have been mentioned by our President of the General Affairs Council been very relevant, because the next year we would have the European Parliament elections. Because of the crisis, which this time was not the mere cyclical crisis, but really structural crisis, which is transforming not only the economy in Europe, but has global repercussions. Of course, left many citizens in Europe frustrated, and citizens in Europe looking not only to the national governments, but also to the European Union, how we can solve these issues. And therefore, the next European Parliament elections very clearly will be very much about the role of the European Union, about the fact how European Union is relevant to the daily life of our citizens and how the citizens would like the European institutions and European Union as such would work for Europe and for them in the future. Therefore, I think the discussion how to avoid the tendency which we've been observing over the last few elections, when the turnout of the voters in the European Parliament elections was going now, was very timely, a very good topic, and also how to confront some of the political movements or tendencies in the European Union which clearly go to the traditional European core values was very relevant and very significant. I think what we all agree is the fact that next year in the political campaigns before the European Parliament elections, this would require close cooperation and clear involvement of all important political figures on the national and the European level. We have to explain our citizens how Europe was crucial and relevant in getting us in what we see right now are the better figures, more positive outlook for the future, and overcoming the crisis which was so deep and so structural. How the European Union is the best entry ticket and the best guarantee we have that Europe will have important and relevant voice and place on this globalized world chessboard. And therefore, I also agree that what would be very important in the next year to have a very strong pro-European platform where traditional pro-European forces will of course have their political battles between right-wing, left-wing and liberal parties, but it will be very important to send strong pro-European message across the European Union. I also very much appreciated some of the innovative ideas coming from the member states, how they are trying to increase awareness of the citizens' rights, how the citizens can have a better say in European processes, how they are trying to improve the quality of education, how the EU works in the secondary schools, in the grammar schools, at the universities, and how we can do that better in the future, for example, with the better training of the teacher in this aspect. I also use this opportunity to thank Linas, but also Vice Minister Vitas Leškevičius for their work, which is very important on a very political piece of legislation, and this is the legal statute of the European political parties, which is on the table, where they are continuing the hard work of the Irish presidency, where we hope that we'll be able to conclude the negotiations very soon, so the European political parties could already enjoy this new legal framework and new conditions in the next European Parliament elections, because it would be very important for the good operation. Last item I would refer to was the, I would guess, rather strong opinion, almost I would say consensus about the communication the Commission proposed a couple of months ago about how we can make the European Parliament's election more attractive. There are two key ideas. The first one is that it's now, I would say, widely expected that each European political party would nominate their potential candidate for the position of the President of the Commission. So the political debate and political campaigns are more personalized. So the people would see, if I vote for this European political party, there is high probability that this person would become the next president of the European Commission. So it will be much more precise and concrete for the voters when they will be making their choice. And the second proposal was also to make very clear link between the national and the European level, between national and European politics, by making it clear that the national parties which would be competing in the European Parliament elections would would clearly establish the links with the key European political families to which they belong in the European Parliament. So again, there is much more increased transparency that if you know for this party, you know that they will be working with the Socialists, Liberals or the EPP group in the European Parliament. So I have to say that after the discussion this morning, I feel encouraged that all pro-European forces will get into the pre-election campaign and into the discussions with the citizens next year with a big vigor. I hope that we will have continuously better and better information concerning the economic developments and that we would use this atmosphere for continuing all the reforms and necessary economic reforms in EU, so we would consolidate the growth and make sure that the crisis will be slowly but surely behind us. Thank you very much, Linas.
Laukiame jūsų klausimų, būtinai.
Your questions, please. Please introduce yourself and tell your addressee. How would you imagine to increase the percentage of the voter turnout? In the last elections, the voter turnout was record low, 20%. How can we influence these processes?
Thank
you very much for your question. But the problem is faced not only by Lithuania. This is natural that people see their parliament, their government. All politics is local. Whichever member state we take, the issues close to people's heart are the ones that are around them. Now, after the Lisbon Treaty, the European Parliament powers have been increased, especially in financial matters, in distribution of funds. If people understand that, they would better understand the importance of the European elections, because at this point people see Europe as something beyond their immediate environment. This is what we were discussing today, how to achieve this. Through transparency, through information, awareness raising. Yes, the key word would be spreading of information to our citizens. Everything will depend on how we will able to explain Europe to our citizens. At the moment, yes, you're right, the percentage is dramatically low. This is unacceptable. If we compare this percentage that you mentioned, 20%, to the importance of the institutions, to the influence of these institutions on the real life of the people, this is unacceptable. So yes, we are raising this question and we are formulating our task to change the situation. So I would fully agree with Mario Šefčovič. Yes, the discussion is timely. 9 months ahead of the European Parliament elections. But we have to think of these matters always, not only before the elections. The politicians have to be accountable to their citizens every day, not just the moment before the elections or in the run-up to the elections. This is my comment to your question.
Lrytas LT portalas Vytautas Valentinavičius. Norėjau paklausti.
I'd like to ask the following. Have you discussed radical groups, the possibility of radical groups being elected to the EP, and what measures can be taken to prevent this if we don't want to see those radicals in the EP, and if not, why don't we want to see them? Thank you for the question. I would add to your question. We're not only speaking about concern raised by the possibility of these radicals coming to the EP. Their being in the public eye raises concern. In times of a crisis, we usually see such a tendency, such forces coming to the fore. As regards the European Parliament, we have discussed this, and we have said that we can call a party a left party, a right party, A party can have a platform related to daily life, to taxes, to social guarantees. Parties can also be distributed according to pro-European and Eurosceptic. A party needs to have a pro-European position, and this might help us deal with those populist, xenophobic, nationalist formations that sometimes do raise their head. This is important when talking not only about elections to the EP. It is a problem typical of our societies, and only through the quality of our actions can we deal with it, not through some ban or prohibition. Only positive, only creative action can neutralize those radical or populist forces. Reuters, please.
Andrew Sitas, Reuters. I have a question for Mr. Vice President, a similar question. How much do you expect the anti-European Union vote, anti-European Union part of the parliament will increase after the elections? And how will this change the style of the parliament?
Thank you very much for your question. I have to say that after today's discussion and also after the college seminar with which we started our political season 2 days ago, I would say much more optimistic. I feel that there is a confidence among strong pro-European forces that will be able to communicate the citizens how the crisis was difficult, but how the Europe and our cooperation, our solidarity, our reform drive actually helped to overcome the worst of the crisis. I also said this morning that these elections would be very much different than any previous elections to the European Parliament, and that despite, I would say, the traditional political competition among the ideas from the left to the right or through the center or liberal ideas, I think that this time probably such a major political battle will be on the lines which really divide the traditional supporters of the core EU values and those political parties which are unfortunately appearing again on the political landscape in Europe and which would like to take us back to the dark years of European history. The parties which are preaching xenophobia, racism, racial hatred, and therefore I think that there will be such a strong mobilization of pro-European forces in the next months, and I was quite positively encouraged this morning to see that also national governments are ready to engage in this very important debate, because for us they are the closest partners. The European Commission or the European Parliament can communicate over the heads of the national governments, and we just simply have to work on this together. So I am still optimistic. I do not expect that there will be some dramatic increase of Eurosceptic parties in the European Parliament. There might be some, but I believe that we see that the mood in Europe is changing for the better. Economy is picking up. New jobs are being created, and I believe if we manage to continue with the reform drive, if we manage to continue with this positive developments, that also the citizens next year would appreciate it, that how much was done by European and national levels over the last few years, and I believe that we'll be able to clearly explain it to our citizens. But I think that in the next European Parliament, I would expect that there will be even closer relationship between the Parliament, the Commission, and the Council, because I think that that was the part of our second discussion, that we just simply would need to focus more on the priorities, to be more efficient and to deliver the results which are so important for European citizens and European economy much faster than before.
Dėkoju susirinkusiems.
Thank you, everybody. Have a nice day.